All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krueg Show with a little 49er video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. Check them out. They're in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin County from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., and they're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. All right, let's talk about the rap sheet. Ian Rapoport, NFL Network reporter, is all over the 49ers story. And when you think about what's going on here, it's amazing, really, that Rapoport has a pipeline to the 49ers that none of the local people do, and myself included. This guy's connected. He gets information. He works for the league, and he's got sources. And he said originally that, basically at the NFL owners meetings in Arizona earlier this offseason, it was Rap Sheet that came out after Kyle and John had spoken and said that he thinks Sam Darnold will be the week 1 starter for the 49ers. He didn't say Trey Lance. He didn't say Brock Purdy. He said Sam Darnold would be the week 1 starter. So obviously, the Purdy thing, because of the injury, that would take him out of being the week 1 starter. But why didn't Rap Sheet say Trey Lance would be the number 1 starter for the 49ers in week 1? He came out, and it wasn't a misspeak. That's the one. That was a couple people were like, Krug, you just misspoke. No, he did not misspeak. All right? These guys know exactly what they say. They write it down. They keep track. They keep a scoreboard. They take this stuff very, very seriously. They pride themselves on being the first person to have the story and the one who gets it right. They literally have a scoreboard where they're keeping score of their reports versus Schefter's reports versus Mortenson's reports versus you name it. All the NFL insiders, Florio's reports. They're trying to get the information first, and they're trying to be right. All of them, including Rap Sheet. So he said back during the NFL's owners meetings in Arizona that he thinks Sam Darnold very well could be the 49ers week 1 starter. And he said that while Trey Lance was on the team. Well, why is that? Somebody probably whispered something to Ian Rapoport. Now he's going on and he is basically saying that he thinks Trey Lance will be traded. Basically saying that he thinks that at some point the 49ers will get an offer that satisfies what their asking price is and that Trey Lance will be traded. So he was the first one to come out with Sam Darnold is the likely week 1 starter for the Niners. And that made a bunch of people go, whoa. And now he's basically saying that whether it's now or going into the draft or after the draft, that eventually somebody's going to give the 49ers an offer for Trey Lance specifically, and that offer will be enough for the 49ers to pull the trigger on trading Trey Lance. How does he get that information? Somebody obviously told him. Now, one of the other reports he's had recently, he said once San Francisco knows that Brock Purdy is healthy, Trey Lance will be dealt. He's not saying may be dealt. He's saying will be dealt. Now, the question is, when are the Niners going to know? Do they know now? Are they waiting till June? Is he suggesting that Trey Lance could be traded between when Brock Purdy starts throwing in June and training camp? Is he suggesting that he could be dealt at the trade deadline? And he's already on record as saying he thinks Sam Darnold is going to be the week 1 starter and that he thinks Trey Lance will be traded. And now he's saying that once they know that Purdy's healthy, Lance is going to be gone. So somebody is talking to Ian Rapoport. Then he went on the Pat McAfee show after he had his initial report where he said that he thinks Sam Darnold will be the week 1 starter. He went on the Pat McAfee show, and McAfee, they referenced that, but then said, we'll talk about that later. Well, why is that? Why did he not want to talk about a report that he had that Sam Darnold will be the week 1 starter? Maybe because the person who told Rap Sheet that Sam Darnold was likely to be the week 1 starter did not want to be on the record that Trey Lance was going to be traded. Maybe they were waiting and said, hey, Ian, I'll give you this little nugget. Sam Darnold's likely going to be the week 1 starter. You can go with that. But try to keep the Trey talk, out of the public discussion for whatever reason. Because literally, go back and watch McAfee and Rapoport that day. He goes on there, and McAfee even references it. Now, you've stated that Sam Darnold will be the week 1 starter, but we'll talk about that later. He's like, well, we'll talk about that later, and they never talked about it. They just kind of tabled it for future discussion. Now Rapoport is saying that the 49ers are fielding calls. But he also is kind of making, there's people glumming onto that saying, well, they're listening on anybody. They'll listen on anybody. It doesn't mean they're shopping him. But now Rapoport is going even further, saying, I think they'll move him. He's basically saying that now it's just a matter of the timing. Will it be before the draft? Will it be after the draft? Will it be in camp? Will it be at the trade deadline? But Rapoport is on record as saying that Sam Darnold will be the starting quarterback week 1. He said that he thinks Trey will be traded. Then he's amended it to say once the Niners know that Purdy is healthy, that Trey will be traded. Then he went on the McAfee show and didn't want to talk about it at the time. And now in the last 24 hours, he's basically saying the 49ers are fielding calls. But then he goes a little further and basically says, I think they're going to move him. So just a lot going on about Ian Rapoport. And none of this is none of this is coming out through any of the local writers, any of the local TV people, any of the local radio people. It's all coming from Rap Sheet. So somebody is whispering the truth to the Rap Sheet. Somebody's telling Ian Rapoport exactly how this is going down, because he's had very specific reports here. Sam's going to be the number 1 quarterback. He thinks Trey's going to be traded. Once Purdy's healthy, Trey will be traded. And then the Niners are fielding calls. And then I think they're going to move him. Rap Sheet has put his name behind it now. He's attached to it. Now, there are people that push back and say, oh, yeah, he had Mac Jones. Okay. You're going to say Ian Rapoport. To me, this is not one report. This is multiple reports, all indicating the same thing. So it tells me, one, that somebody's whispering to Ian Rapoport. Somebody's told him that, what the master plan is. And he's just kind of piecemealing it all to the public in little dribs and drabs. But there you go. Ian Rapoport has had multiple reports that indicate that whether it's going to be this week leading into the draft, whether it's during the draft, whether it's after the draft, the 49ers are going with Brock Purdy and moving on in a trade that will send Trey Lance elsewhere. That's the story, and the Rap Sheet seems to be all over it. All right, hope you enjoyed the 49er video. Thanks to Pig in a Pickle. Thanks for supporting the Krueg Show on YouTube.